Thanks for coming. We were gonna start with a preview or a viewing of the new Flexa video starring some of our best and brightest, and with some really great Zcash Easter eggs. But we're having some AV technical difficulties here, so you're just gonna have to watch it on your own. But it's good. It's great, and you'll see some faces that you may recognize. So the title of this session is Marketing Zcash, and so while I'm the lucky one who gets to stand up here and talk, please know that I just represent, I'm just one smart of a larger and smarter team. I'm head of growth marketing at Electric Coin Company, and I took that role in the spring. After having done some work at ECC for a few years in a similar but somewhat different capacity. But these are the faces of my team here on the bottom row. And we do, for ECC, we do growth marketing, digital strategy, and comms, and events, project coordination. And then we're part of a larger team, the 10 on this slide, headed by Josh up in the top left, which also includes product marketing and regulatory and policy, strategic alliances, and product marketing. And the reason that I show this slide is because, not because we're all so good looking, but just because if I showed this slide a year ago, it would have had 3 faces on it, or 3.5 maybe. And if I showed it 6 months ago, it would have had 5 faces on it, or 6. So it just really kind of illustrates the investment that ECC is making in Zcash adoption. And so I thought it was important. And shout out to our people ops team and recruiter, who have filled our little room with big brains and big hearts and just all around good people. So today we're going to talk about a few things. So we're going to talk about what we're learning over the last few months. We're going to talk about what we see as challenges and what growth marketing is going to be focused on at ECC for the next 6 months or a year. But first, we're going to start at the top. So you'll see this slide maybe a couple times, maybe a few times this week, and this is our mission. ECC's mission is to empower people with economic freedom, and we support that mission by contributing to and supporting a fair open currency, that's Zcash, to protect the freedom, dignity, consent, and security of people all over the world. Now, we talk a lot about privacy, and it's critically and crucially important. But just to clarify that we believe that privacy is part of a larger thing. It's essential to protect the freedom and the dignity and security and consent, but it's not the end of the vision. In Josh's session tomorrow morning, he's going to talk also about the North Star for ECC, which is to build a world-class user experience for Zcash, for ZEC, and what that means. There's a lot involved there. There's some, there's products, it's advocacy, it's tooling, but you should make time for that tomorrow morning if you're interested. Okay, so we talked a little bit about mission, we talked a little bit about vision, and we talked a little bit about the North Star. So when we take all of these things together, we have to ask ourselves, well, what are we going to try to accomplish? What's like the big, vague goal? How do we see Zcash in 10 years and 20 years or 30 years? And at Zcon3 in Croatia, our Chief Research Officer, Nathan Wilcox, gave a talk called Zcash to 10 billion. And by 2050, he said, Zcash would need to be accessible to and usable by 10 billion people across the world. So we use this as another compass and another sort of like target to aim for, but how do we get there, right? That's the big question. So we have been trying to do some learning, and probably a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, we started doing some surveys and some sentiment gathering. But we really picked it up in the last few months with more surveys, some brand exercises, gathering website data from in a tool called Hotjar from the Zcash sites and the ECC sites. And the outcomes have been really interesting, like eye-opening. So for example, one of the most recent surveys, which you're kind of looking at here, just a little, some highlights in USA, in Nigeria, and in India, 82% of our, okay, and this was like 8,000 respondents in total, I think, so pretty good. 82% of respondents in the US say financial privacy is extremely or somewhat important to them, which is cool. And then 2 questions later, they rank privacy and security at the bottom of the list of their concerns with regard to cryptocurrencies. In Nigeria, only 21% said they weren't interested in owning crypto as an investment. That seems like something we should pay attention to. It's going to take time. The more data that we collect, we know this, the more clarity we're going to have on who our target audience is and where they live and what they need for economic freedom. And by the way, you know, this survey is USA, India, and Nigeria. I think like a lot of times we default when we think about economic freedom to thinking about places like China and Venezuela or Afghanistan. But at ECC, we're aligned that economic freedom is a worthy and appropriate mission for all kinds of places, like Las Vegas, USA, and the Bronx, and Palo Alto, and small town Indiana. So it's not limited to what we typically think of as regions that are oppressed or exploited or visibly suffering in some way. So, okay, back to focus. Where do we focus? With regard to brand and messaging, we are prioritizing for today and planning to evolve as more information comes in and is curated and sorted. We know that we can't wait to move until we're, you know, have enough information. We'll never be satisfied. We'll always want to know more. So with regard to Zcash adoption, and for a general Zcash audience, think about like users to visitors to Z.cash or users of our wallets. We rank our personas like this. So we say end users. This is including people who want to privately and conveniently send money or privately and conveniently store money. We rank these folks at the top of our target audience, followed by retail investors and partners. But you're probably thinking there's like a lot of overlap between even these 3 personas, and that's not even bringing in merchants or developers. It's not accounting for the different kinds of like mediums and the ways that we talk to our audiences. So multiple different Twitter accounts, multiple websites, you know, multiple sort of like, we work heavily, for example, ECC on regulatory and policy, for example. And we spend a lot of time and resources to educate about freedom and dignity and security and consent, not just in the context of personal use end users, but also in the for businesses and even for governments. So again, just like a demonstration that we're beginning to think about this, we're beginning to invest in this, we're beginning to prioritize and make decisions about how we want to message. And really that's next. So now that we have mission, we have vision, we have personas, we're learning in surveys, what are we going to say? What's the value proposition? And right now, I think this is we believe a good succinct way to begin telling the Zcash story. Zcash is cash for Web3, which means it is built for today, it is built for tomorrow, it is bleeding edge technology that is culturally relevant. It's what Zuko calls worldwide freedom internet money. Worldwide internet freedom money, something like that. But what that means is important. It means it's equitable and available and permissionless and privacy protecting, predictable and resilient. So Zcash is cash for Web3, and then we back this with product attributes. So Zcash is good for everyday stuff like sending money to grandma or buying something on the internet. Zcash is a good store of value. It's private and secure. Zcash is borderless. Zcash is built for interoperability, which is crucial for Web3. And then as more people are getting comfortable with digital currencies and how they work and more open to the idea of learning more, we have to get in front of this. We have to provide clarity and usability. We need to convey that Zcash is a solution that is better than Bitcoin for people who value their ability to choose what financial and transaction information is public and what is kept private. Zcash is better than Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies because of its privacy protections. They're the best. The Zcash self-funding model supports continual innovation and activities related to the adoption of the token and native protocol. This is the value proposition. There's a ton of challenges. I mean, you guys know this. These are three that I think are glaring. There's a lot more that we could put on this slide. With regard to awareness and understanding, you're looking at a graph that's comparing search data for Zcash, Monero, Decred, Zencash, and Secret Network. Zcash is blue. We're doing better than some, but we have a lot of work to do. And this doesn't include, like if we put Bitcoin or Ethereum on here, Zcash doesn't register, it's a 0, right? So this is just sort of like at the very, even in our tiny little corner of the tiny little corner of the world, we have work to do, much less to speak about, not to mention like the larger world. User experience. So the thing that can keep you up at night is, well, what if everyone was aware of Zcash? What if they tried to download a wallet? What would happen? Like, what if they try to send Zcash or store it privately or understand how it really works? Like, if we made people aware, they still don't have a good on-ramp. They still don't have tools that feel intuitive to them. I think that we're all pretty aware of this. I don't need to go into the ways that we're failing users here, but we're a small community. We're a small team. We are early in this thing, and we'll get there. But this is a place where we really have got to spend some time focusing. This third thing is, it's on the slide here. It says there's this narrative that's Zcash is important but no longer relevant, or as I think Josh said, the thanks grandpa problem, and that is that. So I went to Consensus a few months ago in Austin, and they had this like privacy track, and it was down kind of like a dark hallway around the corner, like far away from the center of activity, far away from the exhibit hall. And as every presenter got up there and talked, they talked about the great debt that they owed to Zcash and the technology that we've built. There was so much respect for the project. But they also talked about the project like as if it was a relic. Important, like Hall of Fame project, but no longer relevant, kind of like left in the dust by some of the other projects that have taken the technology that we've built and then applied it in ways that are forward-thinking and cross-chain and metaverse. This is a photo of the metaverse zone at Consensus, and this was where all the heat was. You could not find a seat in the metaverse zone. That's an analogy, I think, but Zcash wasn't in that conversation, right? So we need to figure out how to make sure that Zcash is thought of as relevant, culturally relevant, bleeding edge technology, and a tool for delivering economic freedom. We have other challenges, obviously, regulation and policy, volatility, fear, but over the next 6 to 9 months, here's how we are going to respond. So we are going to propose a Zcash rebrand, which includes new identity and messaging that is more global, younger, focused on adoption and welcoming of new to Zcash users and even new to crypto users. We're going to rebuild Z.Cash, including a Learn Zcash experience for people who are new to Zcash and maybe newish, again, to crypto overall. At the time of the launch, we'll run a digital advertising campaign that will compel people to take an action. And what I mean by an action is a small movement, a small thing, whether that's downloading something or tweeting something or learning something. The goal here is to get people to do Zcash, because when people do Zcash, people understand Zcash. When they use it, they get it, and we think that's the key to growing adoption. There's a bunch of other stuff here on this list: media and PR campaigns with Cognito, our PR firm out of New York, a new social media approach and new social media strategies with giveaways and all kinds of stuff. We'll also be focused on making sure we have an incredible rollout of the ECC wallet, to be named, but also including a new identity, new messaging, digital ad campaigns, tutorials and giveaways. And this represents maybe like the biggest part of our focus, but there's a million other things happening too. We've got some proof of stake and governance comms that we've just begun to roll out, community collaborations, privacy and regulatory PR push. We've got the Cypherpunk Zero campaign continuing with a comic book series, a toy drop, and some other things, event strategy, and then continued user research. So we'll be busy, and we'll be happily busy, but that's sort of where our focus will be for the next 6 to 12 months. So back here, our work is really important, and we talk a lot about privacy is normal, and privacy is a human right, and a fair open currency that is accessible and permissionless and resilient. And we work to protect freedom and dignity and consent because the world needs this so desperately. And as this work is important, and as marketers, our job is hard, we will have to connect with potential users and future users on like a core level, like a purpose level, like a belief, like a right here level, not just here. And we will have to be true to the mission of economic freedom as well. I wrote this little thing to try to put a frame around Zcash, right? The potential or the promise that Zcash unlocks. The text is probably small. If you're in the middle, you probably can't see it, so I'll just read it to you. Freedom from ads, freedom from borders, freedom from the past, freedom from constraints, freedom from scrutiny, freedom from expectations, freedom to express yourself, freedom to choose, freedom to share, freedom to create, freedom to connect, freedom to flourish. Be free. I'll leave it there, and we'll go to questions.
Awesome. So I have a couple questions here for you. First one, how do we deal with all of the technical information in Zcash actual value when comparing with kind of similar projects like Monero?
Say it again.
How do we deal with all of the technical information and Zcash actual value when comparing with kind of similar projects like Monero. So I think basically, because Zcash, there's so much technical discussion with Zcash, how do we compete or talk about ourselves when other protocols don't have all of that technical
Well,
focus?
when I think about like our target audience, when I talk about those personas with the end user and the retail investors and the partners, I think we have to get away from that. Like, why are we talking about some of this really complicated stuff that will just push people away? Why aren't we talking about some of the things that we had in here, like Zcash is good for everyday stuff, or Zcash is better than Bitcoin for this reason, or Zcash is a great store of value because it's private and secure, instead of diving way deep? And then we have to have that information out there, but my opinion is that we shouldn't be leading with it. We should be leading with some of that stuff that supports the fact that, or that supports the value proposition that Zcash is cash for Web3.
Great. Can the marketing team help the Zcash Cypherpunk NFT project to also reach a wider audience?
Yeah, we hope so. Like I said in one of these slides, we're going to continue that. We've kind of been, I think we've gotten busy with some other things and recently have decided to refocus there a little bit. There's going to be some more content. We've got more NFTs to give away. We've got like a comic book series coming out. We've got some other initiatives in the works there. So we definitely hope to keep that story alive, because that's one way that we can connect in, like, again, in the non-technical way that doesn't push people away out of fear, intimidation, or frustration.
Great. Let's go with this one. How will marketing get aimed at non-crypto people, venues, media, etc.?
So a couple things. We are working with our PR firm in New York, Cognito, and we are talking about rolling out a campaign that's journalist focused, but sort of like non-crypto journalist focused, more about privacy and usability for the greater world and what does it mean today. These are aimed less at publications like CoinDesk and more at like TechCrunch or Wired magazine. We've got some of these other things here and that I talked about. Let me go back to the slide. Yep. I've lost my slide. We've got some work to do around the Learn Zcash experience, which we're putting together into the rebrand and into the new Z.Cash. The rebrand will be new messaging, new identity. It should, like I said, feel more accepting of and more welcoming of new users. It should feel more like the native technologies that people are excited to use and are used to using today. So I think that this whole, the rebrand is a shift toward that goal, toward that effort. So.
It's a puzzle that privacy is at the top of the list of values, but bottom of the list of concerns. Do you think that the solution to that puzzle is they think Bitcoin/crypto already provide privacy?
No, I don't know. What we do know, or what we see in surveys and user behavior that we've learned from other technology companies, is that people say that they care about privacy, but then when it comes down to actually making decisions about it, they always choose convenience. Part of our challenge is building in that convenience, right? The learning experience, the wallet experience. We have to make that much better. And I think that we will.
And actually, the most upvoted question, was that yellow lightning bolt-ish icon a proposed new Zcash logo?
No.
I don't make the decisions. They're the most upvoted ones on here. So, does ECC think that Zcash, the product, is good enough to embark on a new marketing venture?
Zcash, the product. Zcash is a lot of things. One of the main things is this user experience. So the wallet experience, the learning experience. We have to do it now. We have to get in front of those audiences, those people who are comfortable with digital payments, who are comfortable with digital currencies, and we have to do it now. When we walk into consensus next year, I don't want to be in the metaverse zone, but I want to be in the conversation.
How do you ensure that ECC's message and approach doesn't conflict with ZFs or other funded marketing efforts which could confuse a potential user or consumer?
How do you make sure it doesn't conflict with the messages coming out of the Zcash Foundation and other community groups? I don't know. I think conflict is a strong word there that I haven't really seen happen. The user that we're targeting doesn't care whether Electric Coin Company or Zcash Foundation or some other funded organization through the grants committee, they don't care who made it. They don't care if we release a wallet and we call it the Ballroom Wallet. They don't care whether ECC made it or Zcash Foundation or whomever. All they want is to make sure that the experience is good and slick and fast and intuitive and something that they can be proud to recruit their friends to. So I don't know that I quite maybe you disagree with the premise of the question, maybe.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Any predictions or hopes about what the first market/use case to massively adopt Zcash will be?
Well, I don't know. There's people that have fun using Zcash, and there's people who need Zcash. I think it would be cool if the people who need Zcash knew about it and could use it. Hopefully that you can read between the lines there, but.
Yeah, that's great. And how do you plan on supporting grassroots marketing efforts and igniting a movement of excitement?
Yeah, it's a good question. And not just supporting grassroots efforts, but also allowing some of our community to be part of the conversation and contribute to the story, the Zcash story, even as we're sort of like rebranding that thing and putting out a new website and things like that. There's obviously in the ecosystem, there's financial support for grassroots efforts. ECC is focused on what we can do as ECC. One of the brilliant things about the Zcash governance model, right, is that it supports community groups, individuals, developer teams who want to contribute to drive adoption and to ease user experience. So I hope to see more of that. I hope to see more ZCG funding requests. I hope to see more community contributions. It's been somewhat difficult to really take advantage of the passion that we have in the community. I think we're just trying to figure out why. Why has it been hard?
The marketing personas included partners. Do we have any generalized targets or third-party partners we can discuss?
I don't know. I think she's not here. Our strategic alliances is headed by Beth, and she's been working hard to prioritize those things, and those priorities shift over the course of the year as we learn more, and as we sort of see new opportunities with different partners. I don't know what the top 5 are at the moment. I don't know what the top 5 targets are, but I know that we are working hard with wallets and exchanges specifically. But if you can find Beth and flag her down sometime in the next couple days, she'll be a great resource to talk through that stuff.
Yeah, it'd be great if she could respond on Discord on the channel.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fantastic. That's all the questions.